Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. We are going to tackle meal prep 23 right here. Such amazing flavors. We've got meatballs, poke bowls, Persian chicken with tomatoes, and these really yummy loaded Mexican sweet potatoes. So you guys are gonna love them. We're gonna bang it all out. There's more cook time here than there is hands-on prep time. It's a lot of just like seasoning, salt and pepper, olive oil, throwing it in the oven. The meatballs are the one thing that's gonna take a little bit extra time, but they are so well worth it, and we're gonna bang it out first. So let's get going, all right? This is Meal Prep 23. Head to your Meal Prep downloads on the Prep and Rally website and log in with your credentials, download your PDF, and follow along. We make it so simple. Grocery lists are on there. It's all ready to go for you. So I'm gonna guide you through every single step of the way so that you are doing it together, and yeah, giving you all my best tips and tricks along the way, okay? Let's do this. It's not gonna be a long one, I promise. So here we go. We have our we're gonna do our meatballs first, okay? So I have my little bowl here with my meat. Set that aside. We're gonna get started with the sauce first, okay? So I have a pot right over here, and we are just going to get some heat on with a little bit of olive oil. I feel like my workspace seems more cluttered than normal. It's weird. I don't know why. I feel like super cramped. So make sure you feel comfortable and that you set yourself up and get your station feeling really right, because otherwise it'll just stress you out the entire meal prep. Okay, so section out all of your ingredients and let's do this. All right, so we have a little bit of olive oil in this pan, or in this large pot rather, and we're just gonna cut our onion, and you guys know the drill. Move this aside so you guys can see. Tops, bottoms, and we are using one whole onion. Half is gonna go into the sauce and half is gonna go into the actual meatball itself. So when you're making meatballs, you don't wanna just roll little balls of meat. You want to actually season up those meatballs really well. We're gonna make the fluffiest meatballs ever with my trick with my bread, which I will show you in a minute. Keeps them super moist, and you can make any kind of meatball this way. So lots of different variations here. So make sure you save all these PDFs, save these recipes, reuse them whenever you want. I'm actually prepping all this food for Saturday lunch. We have company coming over. I'm gonna be serving some meatballs for the kiddos. I'm gonna be making this chicken as my main, the vegetable side as my side dishes, and the tomatoes to go alongside the chicken and as a side dish. So pretty awesome. You don't need to just use these for during the week. You could use them for Shabbat meals, dinner parties, you name it, holidays. So make sure you save all of these PDFs, okay? I'm gonna grab a little spatula, get that mixed around, season it with a little bit of salt, and already smelling so good. I mean, once you get onions in a pot with some oil, good things start to happen. All right, here we go. Onion, we're gonna deglaze it with some balsamic at the end, so make sure you have your balsamic standing by right over here. Any kind of balsamic works. Your marinara sauce and teriyaki. I'm using this Coconut Aminos teriyaki. So it's a nice, healthy teriyaki alternative, no MSG, gluten-free, soy-free, vegan. So if you could find this, it's a really great option. Otherwise, any teriyaki works. I've also subbed in tamarind paste in that one meal prep that we did a couple months ago. So if you have tamarind paste hanging around your fridge, you could use that kind of as like a sweet and sour sort of sauce, which is really yummy. So make this your own and do what works for you, okay? All right. Once those are nice and sauteed, we could let them go a little bit longer, but we're just gonna move right along. All right, we're gonna throw in our balsamic. And the balsamic is gonna give really nice richness, a good acid that you want. So yummy. Okay, balsamic. Let that just simmer for a couple seconds on high. Okay, let that all heat up. And then we're gonna add in our teriyaki and our marinara. So I didn't realize that I was kind of out of some marinara. I only had a half a jar here, so using that up, and I happen to have had some canned tomatoes in my pantry, so use what you have. I always want you guys to just look what you have, not feel like you have to run to 15 grocery stores. That's my least favorite kind of message to get, is like, I just ran to 3 grocery stores, I can't find the so-and-so. I never want you to do that. That's not the key here. Purpose here is to make life easy, to show you that you could use what you have, utilize what you already have at home so that you don't need to run around like a crazy person and you don't need to spend that much money. So if you ever have questions, if you're able to use something in a recipe as a substitution, you can always message me, okay? So that is our sauce. Oh, sorry, the teriyaki. So get your teriyaki in there. And again, that just adds some more richness, that umami, that saltiness. These are so irresistible. We're obsessed with them in this family. So if you wanted to double this, make like a massive pot full and then freeze them, it's not a bad idea. Okay, great. Next up, we have our bowl with our meat in here, okay? So set that off to the side. We are going to form our mixture. Well, this is coming up to a boil. All right, so in here, we're going to add our onions. Such a crazy day today, guys. I'm like getting this all done for you. And we're gonna have amazing food in like an hour, likely a lot less. I have a new dishwasher coming this week. It's pretty much the highlight of my week, getting a new dishwasher. We've been out of a dishwasher for a couple weeks, and with the amount of cooking that I do and recipe testing, it's kind of crucial, right? So pretty excited about that. So you want to make these pretty small. So I'm just running my knife over it again because it makes it harder to form meatballs if you have like big pieces of vegetables in there. So make sure they're pretty small, pretty consistent. And you're going to throw that into your meat mixture. So we are forming what the actual meatballs are going to be. So all of that happens right here in this bowl. And again, this is the only like labor intensive, kind of difficult, I guess, even though it's not difficult, recipe to execute in this meal prep. Everything else is really simple, okay? 2 eggs go right in. Next up. Oh no, I took out 2 onions, whoops. All right, make sure you wipe off those hands. I always keep a little towel right here, you guys know that. And then we are gonna add some parsley. Parsley is a really, really great addition to meatball filling because it just is so flavorful. It adds that brightness. Okay, can you see what I'm doing? Just chopping up some parsley. It smells so good. You could use flat leaf parsley. You could use curly. It really doesn't make a difference. I don't find that it tastes different. I think it's just the way it looks. So if I'm garnishing something, I care for the flat because I just think it looks better. But when it goes inside, it don't matter. Okay. Starting to see little bubbles around here, so that's doing well. Here we go. Get your salt in. And you can do some pepper if you want. I'm not doing pepper, but you can. And we have our whole wheat bread. You can use any bread you like, but this is instead of using a breadcrumb, this is essentially our breadcrumb. Okay, so we're gonna take some almond milk. I know it sounds kind of weird, but you could also use water if you wanted to. You also could measure it out. I just never do. You guys know me. So just pour that either on top of the bread or you could put it in a separate bowl, but why waste another bowl if you don't have to? So all I do is just pour it over that bread and it's gonna start to like moisten. I know it sounds kind of gross and kind of weird, but this is the key to making a really fluffy, delicious meatball. Because when you just put in breadcrumbs, breadcrumbs are dry, so they are going to absorb all of that moisture from the meatball itself, from the meat. So all those juices are just going to be absorbed into those breadcrumbs. If you hydrate bread, it's not stealing any moisture from the meatball, so you just end up with a really, really fluffy, moist, amazing meatball. Okay, now you know. So again, you could use this technique for so many things. We do this with my salmon burgers, which is coming up in a couple weeks. So it's a really, really great technique, and that's how you make a super fluffy meatball. We've also used this in our meat loaves that we made a couple months ago. We've done the same technique there. So you'll see that over and over again with me because it's just the way to go. And you could also do this with a gluten-free bread, okay? And of course, you can always do a different kind of healthier, lighter breadcrumb. Don't feel like you need to do this technique. It just helps make a super fluffy meatball, but if you're on a strict diet, by all means, just use breadcrumbs, that's fine. Okay, so now all you're gonna do is just take your little meatballs, and I like to make them pretty big, not only because I'm lazy and it takes forever to roll out meatballs, but I just find it like fun when you get like a big meatball. Plus they shrink a lot in here, okay? So make sure you roll these around. And hopefully your onions are pretty small, because otherwise, if the onions aren't small enough, it makes them kind of hard to roll. The onions tend to not want to stay in there. All right, so roll these meatballs. Kind of working with a little bit more meat than I told you guys to buy, but that's fine. Use any amount that you want. Okay, hang on. Just realized that I still wanted this, because you're going to be just kind of swirling it around ever so gently just to get everything in there. Okay. In. These are going to be so good. My kids love meatballs. It's kind of like our favorite meal, or their favorite meal rather. And I feel like it's everyone's favorite meal. Meatballs are just good, right? They call it meatballs and biscottis. So we're going to be making rice to go along with this meal prep that you can use in 3 of the different meals. I wouldn't recommend it though. For this dinner, I recommend just making some fresh spaghetti that night. Or if you're on a lower carb diet, you can always do some cauliflower rice or spaghetti squash. Totally your call, as always. Always feel free to modify these, make it work for you. There aren't any menus that's going to be perfect for everybody. So I always say do what works for you and switch it up so that it could work for you, for your family. There's so many ways to go about doing that. Okay. Sorry, I'm just going to keep rolling these. Oh, that's like a big mistake. I should have taken off my ring. Note to self, take off your rings. I meant to do that. I was like thinking in my head, like take off your rings. Cool. All right, so after we're done with these meatballs, we are going to make the tomatoes, which are going to be these like balsamic-y kind of glazed tomatoes that you're going to serve with those Persian kebabs, and they are so good. I'm telling you, you wouldn't think roasted tomatoes are so delicious. These are the best roasted tomatoes you're ever going to have. And then we're going to make some green beans, and we're going to make, I'm making cauliflower instead of asparagus. So always feel free to modify. Swap out any vegetables that you particularly like or want. And then we're going to roast some sweet potatoes, which I don't know if you could, oh, you see them over there. Mine happen to be massive, like massive. I should have put them in already so they could start cooking, because they're going to take a long time. They're huge. But that's cool. A roasted sweet potato, I find it to be so good. They get so sweet and sticky. All right, we're going to keep rolling a few more of these, and like just keep spinning around the meatballs very, very, very gently. You don't want to break them. So it almost pays to just wait a couple minutes for the meat to cook a tiny bit, firm up, and then swirl them around a little bit to make sure that the ones on top get down below. Okay, so everyone is submerged in this yummy sauce, and because the fat in the meat, the sauce is going to rise even more so. It's going to get more sauce in there. So everything will be submerged soon. So just give it a couple minutes for the meat to start cooking and rendering. Smells good. And once it really starts bubbling, then you can just lower it to simmer. And we're just going to simmer it for like 30 minutes to an hour. Depends on how big your meatballs are, but yeah. Okay, I'm going to make like 3 more, and then we'll move on. Okay? The thing about these videos, it's like I always said I could get super fancy and edit these, but number one, you would miss me talking to myself. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is it is real time. So I am literally standing here doing this with you, and it's just more authentic that way. Okay? Let's see. Stretch 2 more out of this. Okay, here's 1 and 2. And the beauty of these videos is that you can pause them anytime. So if you're behind, I want to revisit something, just pause, play, rewind, do what you got to do. All right, put that in there. Oh my goodness, so good. Okay, I'm going to let that just do its thing for a little bit, and then I'll mix them around. Give your hand to wash, and meet me back here. Okay? Ooh, it's starting to smell so good. All right. So while that's still coming up to a little bit of a boil, I'm not going to really mix it too much yet. Another little move that you can do without ruining the meatballs is to kind of take your little towel and then just shimmy it a little bit. That's an even better move than mixing it with a spoon, because this way you really, really don't break them apart, okay? So covering it for a few minutes, and then we're gonna lower it down to a simmer once it's really boiling. But this is gonna help it boil a little quicker. Here, it's boiling already. Lowering it down to a simmer, okay? And then here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna shake it every so often. Beautiful. And make sure when you're simmering that there's still little bubbles going around the edges, because you wanna make sure that it's still cooking and doing something and not just sitting there, okay? I have my oven preheated to 425. The first thing I'm gonna do is take my sweet potatoes, which are so massive. I'm just gonna throw them in. You could wrap them in tin foil, which will help them cook faster, but honestly, it's fine. I'm home anyways. I have the time to just be here anyways. So I'm gonna save on my tin foil today. So no, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. Okay, so meatballs are going, teriyaki. The sweet potatoes are in. Let's get our balsamic tomatoes in because those are super quick also. I will throw those in the oven. Okay, so here we go. So these are really easy. I'm using baby left cherry tomatoes. You can use the plum tomatoes that I recommended. It's totally your call. I just happen to have had these. All right, so here we go. We're gonna do some salt. We're gonna do honey. Kind of going out of order. I don't know why. I tend to do that often. I tend to do that when I'm baking and then I'll forget ingredients. So don't copy me. All right, we have some onion powder. I don't know where my garlic powder went. Someone stole my garlic powder, but it's cool. We're just gonna omit it for today. So oregano is really nice here, dried oregano, super yummy. A little bit more of that balsamic because we already have it, so why not use it? And it makes it so good. It makes these delicious. And a tablespoon or so of olive oil. That's it. Easy. Okay, so you guys take this. Grab a spoon. It'll be easier because that honey doesn't want to mix so well. So, oh my gosh, this is so good. You guys are going to love these. We devoured them. Even the kids like them. All right, that's it. We're going to stick these in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes, and they're going to burst and be so good. So if you are using the plum tomatoes, just have them because it helps cook them a little bit faster, and they also look really, really pretty with your chicken. All right, next is, hold on. Okay, so asparagus is next. I'm using cauliflower because I wanted to make that for my lunch that I'm having company for anyways. So I'm going to use cauliflower instead of asparagus. And we just had asparagus the other night because I was testing out a new meal prep, so I didn't want to overdo it on asparagus for us. So we are doing cauliflower. But if you're doing asparagus, just give them a good wash and then cut off the ends. Make sure you cut off enough so that it doesn't, you want to cut off enough of that light part at the end because you could really choke on those. They tend to be really fibrous if you don't cut off enough. So especially if you have little kiddos, and a little trick for that is just to snap them. And apparently it snaps right where the edible part is and where it's like super fibrous. I tend to think that it takes off a little bit too much. So do your thing. Moving it off to the side because I want to do this at the same time. We have green beans here, okay? Hold on. Doop. My computer is so gross. You can see my computer. It's like food all over it. Okay, so we're doing some salt on these and a little olive oil. And then this garlic, okay? So you're taking the garlic. You guys know how I feel about garlic, right? You're just taking your garlic, cutting off the top to expose the cloves, okay? Kind of rubbing it in that olive oil. And then I do like to use tin foil here. Let me just grab that tin foil because that helps it really cook faster. And you're not just looking for it to cook, but you want it to really soften up. And I find if you just cook it like this, it cooks, but it doesn't get that like luscious, soft, spreadable garlic. So throw in a little bit of tin foil and then just pop it on your tray. And that's gonna cook simultaneously. And then at the end, you're just gonna take it and squeeze it all over those green beans. And you're gonna have the yummiest, garlickiest, most delicious green beans ever. All right, so toss that around. Wash your hands one final time and pop everything in the oven. If you have multiple ovens, you should be able to fit everything. If not, fit what you can and then work in stages, okay? So, here we go. The cauliflower I'm just gonna leave out and we'll put this in when the tomatoes come out. Okay, lovely. All right, let's check on our meatballs. Oh my gosh, it's smelling so good. Okay, take a whiff and smell that. These are my favorite meatballs ever. They're so good. All right, again, give it a little shimmy. Shimmy, shimmy. And, oh my God, yum. So you wanna make sure that all those meatballs are fully submerged, and you should be able to do that now. Oh my God, can you guys see this? Ah. Yum. Okay, so let that keep cooking and simmering. Meanwhile, the next thing we're gonna work on, just following my PDF, just like you guys do. We're gonna get our rice going, and then we're gonna marinate the Persian kebabs, and then we're done. I told you, it's a lot more cooking time today than it is actual hands-on time, but that's awesome for you because then there's more time for you to clean up while everything's cooking and to relax, maybe drink your wine, do your thing, okay? So here you go. I have my rice mixed with the water. Follow along with the PDF so that you can get the ratios. I always do 2 cups to 4 cups water. Every bag will say something different. It'll say like either 4.5 cups of water or 4.25 cups of water. I find 2 to 4 works, but it just kind of depends. I feel like every day is different. But you could always add in an extra splash of water and it should be good, okay? Chicken here, because we're gonna start marinating that, and that's gonna marinate either overnight, you can stick it in the freezer, or you can cook it fresh tonight. Just kind of depends on what you wanna do. You could either cut it into little cubes for skewers. I actually bought like fajita style chicken, so it's just kind of like in strips. I don't know, I saw it at the store and I was like, okay, fine. I'll buy that. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet because I'm serving it for a lunch. But I think I'll probably just like pan sear all little pieces, just like kind of fry it like in a wok almost, so it gets nice and golden. And then everyone will kind of assemble their own little fajitas. Maybe I'll buy some like lafas or something that everyone can serve it with. That could be really fun, right? So you could always use these meal prep plans to inspire dinners, appetizers. You could do this as an appetizer as well. So always get creative and, you know, use them because it's good stuff. All right, so here we go. I told you guys to get, first of all, I doubled my recipe because I'm using this for my lunch, but you don't need to double all this, obviously. So if you see me putting in a lot of something, just know that I'm doubling it. Okay, so we have my saffron in there. I told you guys that it's not necessary to buy saffron. It is so recommended though. It adds an amazing flavor. It makes it that authentic kind of like Persian flavor. Plus you buy it and it goes a long way. Sorry, that's not it, this one. It goes a long way. They're these little threads and they're kind of pricey because they're hard to source. They're like little flower, oh, so fragrant. They're really delicious. It's great in fish, it's great in chicken, it's great in grains. So sometimes I'll just make a batch of rice and throw some saffron in there and it's so, so, so good. So, super yummy. Little olive oil there. I'll do a nice amount because it is chicken breast. So unless you're using thigh, it's totally your call. And just gonna get my zester. I just don't know where he is, but you could totally zest the lemon in there. You already have the lemon. Why not get a little bit more flavor? I didn't tell you to do that, but if you want to zest it, this microplane is the greatest thing ever. I think I bought this 7 years ago. I'm still using it. I use it for everything. Garlic, ginger, all citrus. It's just the greatest little flavor booster. It's a great tool to have in the kitchen, okay? So here we go. Yum. And the thing with acid in a marinade, you don't want to let it sit for too long with the acid because it'll start to cook it almost like a ceviche, which is why I said either just do it overnight or you can just marinate it for like 30 minutes or so and then cook it right now, or just pop it in the freezer and then take it out, thaw it, and then cook it. Okay? Cut that in half and juice that yummy lemon. Nice, vibrant, flavorful chicken. I love this so much. And I find this kind of chicken dish just goes from summer to winter really, really well. Because you think of like Persian food as kind of like heavy and wintry, but then again, it's like so vibrant and fresh from the lemon. You could put this on a salad. You could do, you could fill little lettuce cups with it. You could serve them in pitas. So it's good for the whole family. It's just so versatile. You get what I'm saying, right? Okay, let's go. All right, in that we're gonna add our garlic and onion powder. Again, I lost my garlic powder, so I'm just gonna add a nice amount of onion powder. And I'm also doubling, so I need more. Rice is coming up to a boil, so keep an eye on that. Once it comes up to a boil, you're gonna lower to a simmer and let it cook for like 50 minutes, okay? Turmeric is in. Watch your counters, fingernails, everything. It stains everything. Super annoying. So use gloves or tongs or something if you're concerned about staining, okay? Here's some salt. You really want to season it up, and because I'm doubling it, I really need a nice amount. And we're going to add a nice amount of fresh parsley. Okay, super, super vibrant. Yum. We'll lower our rice in a minute. Grab a lid if you have one. I don't know where mine is, to tell you the truth. I'm going to borrow this. Pop it on there and then lower to a simmer. You want it to be a nice tight lid. I've spoken about this before. Some pots and pans have like a little hole for steam. You don't want that. That is not a good thing when you're cooking rice in particular, because all of that steam escapes and it evaporates, which you want when you're reducing like a sauce or something. But when you're making rice or quinoa, it will mess up your recipe. You want it to be a tight fitting lid. It's like super important. Okay. So I'm just covering that up just so it also stays nice and toasty in there. And that's it. We're going to take all this parsley, throw it into our chicken. Another addition here, if you wanted to add some coconut milk, that's a nice addition too. Also helps keep things really, really nice, moist and yummy. Hate that word, but it is. Can't avoid it. And here we go. That's it. We're going to, I'm not putting my nails in there. So, ooh, sorry, that's gross. Yeah, okay. Here we go. So just kind of mix that around to marinate. And this is gonna be so delicious. So let this sit overnight or just for a few hours. And again, you could add any other spice if you wanted to add like paprika, whatever your family likes, but it's just like a really nice, flavorful, staple chicken. It's just yummy, okay? So that's it. I should have had way more turmeric in here, but I kind of ran out. So I'm just gonna improvise and add a couple more spices. But you guys are gonna love this. All right, so that is that. Let that sit to marinate for a little bit, and then you're either gonna skewer them, grill them, or you can just like pan sear them, which is what I'm going to be doing. And that's it, okay? So we have our sweet potatoes in the oven, our cauliflower is going in a minute. We have our tomatoes in there, the green beans are in there. Meatballs are gonna go for another like 30 minutes or so. The rice is gonna simmer for about 45 to 50 minutes, and then I'm gonna cook this. I'm probably gonna cook it like in an hour or so. Let it marinate for a little bit, just to all come to room temperature and for all those flavors to really, really mix together. And that's it. I hope you guys have an amazing week. So simple, quickest meal prep. It's been 30 minutes, literally 30 minutes. That's crazy. We just cooked for the week in 30 minutes. That's how we do it. Are you shocked? No, you shouldn't be. It's a prep from an alleyway. All right, so let me know how it goes. Reach out on Instagram. Be sure to share and tag all of your recipes. And be sure to subscribe to this channel so you always know when I upload a brand new video. All right? Guys, I love you. Have an amazing week. Meal Prep 23, rock it. Bye, guys.